What is going on, everybody? Today I will be previewing some of the biggest SEC games of the 2024 college football season. We are just 2 months away from the start of the next season, so in this video I will continue to preview some big games from next season, and today I will be covering the SEC. Now let's start off with arguably the most important game of next season, and that game is the Texas Longhorns versus the Georgia Bulldogs. If both these teams remain undefeated heading into this game, these two teams will both be ranked in the top 4, and they could possibly even be the number 1 and number 2 ranked team in the country. This is going to be a showdown of two elite programs and two national title contenders. Right now, Georgia is about a 1.5 point favorite on the road. This is going to be a very interesting game. The last time these two teams played was in the 2019 Sugar Bowl, in which Texas won 28-21. If Texas was able to win this game at home in 2024, that would be huge for them. They knocked off Alabama on the road last season. But if Texas was to beat Georgia, it would really cement them as an elite program in the SEC, and Texas has the tools necessary to go far next season. Quinn Ewers is back at quarterback, and Texas added multiple stars at receiver, bringing in guys like Isaiah Bond, Silas Bolden, and Matthew Golden. All three of those guys could end up being solid NFL draft picks. Steve Sarkisian is building something special at Texas, but this is going to be a huge test playing against Kirby Smart and the Georgia Bulldogs. Georgia also returns a veteran quarterback. Carson Beck versus Quinn Ewers is going to be incredible to see, and you could argue that these are the two best returning quarterbacks in college football next season. Georgia versus Texas has potential to be a classic, and I definitely cannot wait for this showdown. The next game I want to talk about is Alabama versus Georgia. This is another difficult game on the road for Georgia, and this game is against a team that Kirby Smart has really struggled to beat. But this isn't the same Alabama team led by Nick Saban, and there's still a lot more we have to learn about the Kalen DeBoer era at Alabama. And that is exactly why this game is very important. Georgia versus Alabama has been a huge showdown every single time these two teams have played recently. This game always has high stakes. Last season, Georgia lost to Alabama in the SEC championship game, and it resulted in them missing the playoffs. But you would have to believe Kirby Smart and the Georgia Bulldogs have this game circled on the schedule and they want their revenge. But for Alabama, this is a huge game for them as well. This is Kalen DeBoer's first big test in the SEC conference. Jalen Milroe played a solid game against Georgia in the SEC championship last season, so if Alabama wants to win this game, we will need to see a great performance from Jalen Milroe. And I am interested to see how that Alabama offense will look with Kalen DeBoer running that offense, and this should definitely be a very exciting game. The next game I want to talk about is Tennessee versus Alabama. We got Texas versus Georgia Week 8, but we also have Tennessee versus Alabama Week 8, and I'm very excited for this game. The SEC is all about defense, but sometimes it is very refreshing to see some shootouts in the SEC, and I believe this game has the potential to be a shootout. You have two of the best offensive-minded head coaches in college football, Kalen DeBoer for Alabama and Josh Heupel for Tennessee. These two teams played in 2022, and it was one of the craziest college football games of that year. You could argue that it was one of the craziest college football games of all time. I'm definitely interested to see how much that Tennessee offense can improve with Nico Iamaleava leading the way as quarterback number 1, because he definitely has one of the highest ceilings in college football. And I'm telling you, if he reaches his full potential, he is going to be a problem for college football. I'm definitely hyped for this game, and I believe this is a very unpredictable game, and these are also two very interesting teams. This game has the potential to be a classic. The next game I want to talk about is LSU versus Alabama. A game like this is why we love SEC football. Alabama and LSU have been two of the top-notch programs in the SEC for a very long time, and these two teams have put on many classics, no matter if it's a 6-9 low-scoring game or if it's a higher-scoring game. LSU versus Alabama is one of the more important rivalries in the SEC, and hopefully this ends up being a night game, because if it is a night game, I expect an insane atmosphere for this game. Tiger Stadium is one of the toughest places to play at in college football, and LSU versus Alabama should definitely be a lot of fun. This game will likely have playoff implications, and this game being a night game would just be a bonus. Regardless of if it is a night game or not, I'm definitely very hyped for this matchup. The next game I want to talk about is LSU versus Ole Miss, and similar to LSU versus Alabama, this game should have playoff implications, and this game should be a lot of fun. This has been confirmed to be a night game at Tiger Stadium, and last season this game was actually incredible. It was a higher scoring shootout, and Ole Miss pulled away with a close win last season. So LSU likely has this game circled, and this is a must-win game for LSU at home if they want to have a realistic shot at the 12-team playoffs. This is an Ole Miss team that returned some of the top offensive stars like Jackson Dart and one of the most underrated receivers in college football, Trey Harris. Ole Miss also added South Carolina wideout Juice Wells, who was a huge playmaker to add to this team. But the thing that makes Ole Miss dangerous is the fact that they went all in on the defensive side in the transfer portal, adding guys like Walter Nolan and Princely Yu, who are potential first or second round NFL draft picks. This should be a very legit Ole Miss team. Ole Miss had only 2 losses last season, and they were to Alabama and Georgia, but they upgraded their roster even more, and Ole Miss could be a dark horse to win the SEC, which they have not done since 1963. I am definitely very excited for the game between LSU and Ole Miss. The next game I want to talk about is Texas versus Texas A&M. This game will be played in the last week of the regular season. And this game is one of the most historic rivalries in college football history. This game is huge to have back. Texas will have to travel to College Station for this game. And could you imagine if Texas A&M pulled off the upset in this game? That would be a huge win for the Mike Elko era at Texas A&M. And a Texas A&M win in this game could really shake things up. If Texas was to drop this game, they could honestly miss out on the SEC championship game. Texas might be in a position in this game where they desperately need to win this game to reach their ultimate goals. A lot of people are expecting Texas to run through the SEC in year 1, but this could be a challenging year for Texas. They will have much harder competition, and they could drop a couple of games if the defense struggles. Texas had concerns in the secondary last season, and that is actually what cost them the game against Washington in the playoffs last season. Don't get me wrong, I really think Texas is actually back, but they still need to prove they are a top-notch program in the SEC, and a late-season game on the road against Texas A&M is definitely sneaky. I'm definitely excited for the return of this rivalry. The next game I want to talk about is Ole Miss versus Georgia. You already know Ole Miss is going to have this game circled after getting embarrassed by Georgia last season, but I don't necessarily think this is going to be a cakewalk game for Georgia in 2024. Ole Miss has this game at home and Georgia faces a gauntlet of a schedule, and this is a trap game on the schedule for Georgia. It is not going to be an easy game on the road for them, and I find it hard to believe that an Ole Miss team on the rise will get embarrassed by Georgia again, and I really do expect a closer game this time around. Ole Miss should be a much improved team. Jackson Dart is going to be comfortable at his home turf, and the defense for Ole Miss should definitely take strides. Ole Miss will have this game circled, and it is a huge opportunity to prove themselves as a team and take that next step forward. And that is what makes this game pretty exciting. Last season this game was not close at all, but this game should be a lot more unpredictable in 2024. The next game I want to talk about is the Red River rivalry between Texas and Oklahoma. And this is a crucial game on the schedule for Texas because they did lose this game last season and it was their only regular season loss. And if Texas was to lose this game to Oklahoma again, it would really devalue this team, and it might be a tough year for Texas if they were to lose to Oklahoma. But on the other hand, if Oklahoma was to beat Texas, it would give them the momentum in the right direction, and if Oklahoma outperforms Texas on the season, Oklahoma could start trending up in recruiting rankings, and maybe Oklahoma would become a top program in the SEC. Texas is expected to be a lot better than Oklahoma in year 1, but if Oklahoma beats Texas, then we might just have to reevaluate these two teams. Let's not forget Oklahoma was having an incredible season in 2023, and a lot of people were considering them a playoff contender. Ultimately, that didn't end up happening, because they dropped a couple games. But Brent Venables did just sign a big contract with Oklahoma, and people should not doubt this Oklahoma team. They have only had one losing season since 1998, which was actually in 2022, but Brent Venables definitely has Oklahoma heading in the right direction after they won 10 games in 2023, which was a pretty decent step up from 2022 in which they only won 6 games. So I am interested to see this game between Texas and Oklahoma, because we could end up seeing one of these teams or both of these teams making the SEC championship within the next 5 years. And this will be the first of their big matchups in the SEC. The next game I want to talk about is Alabama versus Missouri. Missouri has a very manageable schedule, and this is actually the biggest test on their schedule, and it's a road game against Alabama. This will be a later season game, so Alabama really needs to win this game if they want to make the 12-team playoffs. Alabama has a tough schedule. but this game should be manageable at home against Missouri. But Missouri is also a team that they should not take lightly. And if Missouri managed to upset Alabama on the road, then Missouri has a legitimate shot at going 12-0 and making the SEC championship game. And a road win against Alabama would be huge for them. Missouri has a lot of potential. They are coming off a huge win against Ohio State and they have a manageable 2024 schedule. This game between Missouri and Alabama is going to be very important, and that is exactly why I have this game on my list. The last game I want to talk about for this video is Oklahoma versus Tennessee. This game opens conference play, and this is a must-win game for both of these teams. This is a 50-50 game in my opinion, and both of these teams could really benefit from a win to open conference play. And whatever team wins this game is going to get momentum in the right direction. And another thing that makes this game interesting is the fact that both these teams have young 5-star quarterbacks that are taking over as the starters in 2024. Tennessee and Oklahoma have a lot of potential, so this game is really crucial, and it should really be a fun matchup as well. Jackson Arnold versus Nico Iamaleava is going to be interesting, and I am definitely looking forward to that matchup. But anyways, that is going to do it for today's video. Let me remind you guys to like the video, and also subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you never miss an upload. And if you guys love college football, then you'll love this channel, because we upload a ton of college football content and we basically cover everything on this channel. So definitely consider subscribing. And also consider joining my Discord server down in the description below. But that is going to do it, guys, and peace out.